Everybody, Dave here, Hidden Freedom Investing. In today's video, we're going to go over my FIRE update and net worth update for the month of April. It's already been 30 days since I've done the last update, and the market looks like it has come up and recovered quite a bit. So they made a substantial difference from last month to this month. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're looking at the overview page here, and I know last month, it was 370 something odd days. Now we're down to 349, and that is just a guesstimate. I will most likely retire in April of 2022. I just don't know exactly when in April. Most likely it's going to be mid to late April. Basically, the only reason I say that is just because I want to get past the tax filing season for next year. It looks like it's gonna be another bad year for me for taxes, so I just want to make sure that I don't have any surprises really, and so I want to make sure I put my 2-week notice in, and sometime after I know what my taxes are going to be. So most likely it's going to be in late April is my guess. So this is my other channel that I started, Hidden Off Grid here, and I know a lot of you came over there and subscribed and have been following me over there. I appreciate it. This week I'm going to do a video, so by the time this video comes out, there should be another video on this channel. And on that video, I'm going to talk about the number one thing that could cause me not to fire on time in 2022. All right, we're looking at the assets for basically updated for April. And they got the 401k accounts here up to $317,000. That's quite a bit of a jump from last month. And that's because the market has recovered quite nicely. It brings us down here to the CRA, with company retirement account. I got basically $61,000 in there. It's a dividend portfolio. If you see my dividend portfolios, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, you can watch the video up here where I pretty much do a dividend update video every month. And I will be doing next week's dividend update video. But for now, I'll link in the latest one up there. Right now, that generates $2,500 in income, 4% yield. That brings us down here to Solo 401k notes, $126,000 still left in those notes. Pays me about $1,100 a month. And right now, the yield is about 7.74. And that generates $9,800 a year in income. The $1,100 is actually just principal and interest. Right now, the income is just showing the interest there. But when I say it's $1,114 a month, that's really just principal and interest. And then we got the HSA there. It's about up to $11,200 now. And hopefully, I can contribute that, max it out this year, and have that grow. Hopefully, maybe I can contribute even after I fire. Hopefully, if I have a high deductible healthcare plan. I can't remember what it's called, but anyways, if you have an HSA option through your work, make sure you look into that, start contributing to it. It is all tax deferred. Matter of fact, all the money you put in there is tax free. The money grows tax free, and you can take it out on qualified medical expenses. It's actually tax free as well. So, and I could go to the doctor tomorrow. If I was fired today, I could go to the doctor tomorrow, and I can save all those receipts until 20 years from now and still use that money against those receipts. So that's kind of a cool thing. If you have an option to get it, get one. So that brings us down here to the TD Ameritrade spec account. I've actually drained that account. I think there's about $7,000, $8,000 in there. I've actually drained that account down to $600 right now, and getting ready for them to kind of suck that into Schwab. Right now, it's still separate, but that money went into the dividend portfolio, and also I put a little bit of money into M1 Finance here, which we'll talk about. So right now, that is not invested in anything. And it brings us down here to the M1 Finance account, $1,000 in that account right now. It's not invested in anything yet, but I'm planning on building that, building that portfolio out as well. I haven't decided whether I'm going to make a portfolio video on M1 Finance or not. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But we'll see. I will share that with you if I decide to go that way. It brings down here an Interactive Brokers account. I did stick in quite a bit of capital, almost $50,000, I think $49,000 from March to April. And so right now there's $255,000 in there, and my goal is to make that roughly about 2% a month. And right now I have it set to $48,000, which is 18%. So that should be pretty easy to get out of there. I'm trying to just be conservative here. That brings us down here to the real estate notes, $330,000. Generates about 6.93%, $22,944 in annual income. And that is obviously no taxes taken out for that, so I do need to pay taxes on that. From last month to this month, one note did get paid back. It was about $75,000 in total that got paid back. Most of that went into the options account, and some of that went into the dividend portfolio as well. And I talked about that in my last portfolio video. Brings down here to real estate flips, $173,000 still sitting there. Basically, it's a total waste of money at this point. It's into 2 properties, and they're going through foreclosure process, so hopefully that will continue. Did a little bit of update on that, but right now it's dead money, dead weight, and it's been dead weight for literally over 2 years now, so that kind of sucks. Could have been a lot of money I could have generated from that, but it is what it is. You try to make money and things sometimes go south on you, so you just have to recover from it, and that's the reason why you don't put your whole net worth into just one asset. That brings us down here the Schwab dividends, and right now that account is $422,986, and that brings in $19,000, and right now that yield on that account is 4.54%. And if you're interested in look at that as dividend portfolio, I've done many videos on that, but I do one every month, and you can look at the latest one up here, and that brings us down here to Schwab Cash. Right now there's no cash in the account, and I don't really carry any cash in that account either. I pretty much invest every thing I put in the account. And then also brings us down here to Fundrise. There's $16,000 in that account. I really should do an update on my Fundrise account. Just got paid a dividend about a week or 2 ago. It generates about $1,300 in income a year. About 8% yield is about what I've been getting out of Fundrise. Brings us down here to Lending Club, and Lending Club, they're closing that platform down. You can't even invest in new notes or anything like that. But I am grandfathered in. There's $1,280 still left in that account. And it generates roughly about $180. And when that comes out, I'll probably just put it in Fundrise or maybe stick it just in the dividend portfolio. But there's still a good, couple years left on some of those notes, unless they get paid back early. But it is what it is. And that brings down here to the cash high yield savings account. What that is, and that's $16,000 in there. And I'm trying to build that up a little bit. Just because those flips, once they go through foreclosure, most likely I'm going to get stuck with probably both of those flips at the auction. So just trying to build that up a little bit over the next several months. That way I have money to flip those 2 properties. And I mean, it's kind of waste, because then normally I'd probably just stick that in the options account where I can generate cash off of it and kind of just use that. Obviously I can generate a lot more than $50 a year off of it. Probably generate just in the $16,000, probably generate $100 a week off of that pretty easily just in options. That brings the total assets to $1.734 million, and income by account, just the way it sets right here in a conservative basis, about $113,000 a year. That's not including, that's not after taxes, I should say. That is before taxes. So I'd have to still pay taxes here. I'd still have to pay taxes on the notes. Still got to pay taxes on the dividends, right? Everything in here has got to be taxed. So that is basically pre-taxed, obviously. And I'm not going to be taxing this stuff up here because this is all retirement account stuff up here. That brings us down to the liabilities, and right now there is 0 liabilities. I don't really have any loans. I haven't had a loan for, basically the last loan I had was 2017 when I had some school loans, but those I've just paid off. So I don't have any loans, but that's fine. Maybe someday I'll have a house loan or something like that, and I'll put that in there. Because if interest rates still are like 3.5% or something like that, I might as well just take that money and just trade it with options and just finance part of the house is the way I'm looking at it. Scrolling on down here, we can see the taxable minus debt, which I don't have any debt. So on the taxable side, there's 1.218 million, and the income is roughly about $91,000. Like I said, that is basically before taxes. Yields roughly about 7.5%. We'll talk about the SR here in a second. That brings us down to tax deferred. So the tax deferred account right now, all my accounts on the tax deferred side, $516,000, and income is roughly about $22,000. Yield is about 4.29%. And obviously you're probably thinking, well, that's a lot of money you have outside of your retirement accounts. And yeah, if you're going to retire early, you need to think about having some brokerage accounts or some other assets outside of your retirement accounts that you can kind of draw off of, okay? So that means rental properties, dividends, or even, like I said here, real estate notes or something like that that you can generate money off of and at least make it until you're 59 and a half, or if you get a pension at 59 and a half or 55 or something like that, you still need to make it to 55, right? Or 59 and a half. So you need to worry about that if you're going to retire early. Start thinking about, how much money you have on your taxable side versus your tax deferred side. That is a pretty big important thing there. The reason why, obviously I max out my 401k now, but in my HSA, but those weren't things I maxed out my entire life. I just kind of put the minimum there to get the match for quite a while. And now that I've got enough to survive on the taxable side, the last few years I've been maxing out every account I can possibly max out on the tax deferred side. That means my 401k and my HSA, because I need that tax write-off. How many years away from FIRE are you? Go ahead and comment below. So last month I talked about SR, and I think I even talked about it wrong. I thought I'd call it savings rate, but it's not savings rate. That's not what that stands for. The S is savings, and then the R is return. So right now, on a conservative basis, I have another spreadsheet I use that kind of just, guesstimates how much dividends I'm getting, how much I put in my HSA, how much of my 401k I'm putting in every month, how much dividends I get paid for both accounts, how much notes I get, all the other income from Fundrise and options and all that stuff gets all baked down into one number. That one number is $199,000. And then I divide that by 12 and it comes out to $16,637. That's how much my net worth should go up every month. And then every year it should go up by $199,000 on a conservative basis. So that's what that stands for. It's not savings rate, it's basically savings and return. And down here we got the net worth 1.734, which we talked about just a minute ago. My goal is 1.9. I have not raised that like I did last month. So right now it's still sitting at 1.9, although I still think that's low, and we're 91.29% to the goal with roughly $165,000 left. So technically I should be higher than 1.9 in, obviously in about 12 to 13 months. But if the market just stayed right where it was, that's probably where I would be. If the market goes down, then obviously that number could go down, but it is what it is. Well, I guess we'll find out, huh? And then coming down here to the conservative net worth projection, we got year 2021, which is pretty much almost past. At the end of April, it's gone. So I'm just going to get rid of this whole line completely. So line 45 will just get deleted out of here, and then we'll go forward from line 46 on. So once April ticks off, I will put a 0 here, and then I will end up doing a 12 here, and that should change everything going down. So right now my guesstimate is, my projection is 1.934 by the time I retire in April of 2022. So that's higher than my goal up here. Hopefully if the market continues to run, maybe that'll be 2 million by that point. That would be great if it could be. Maybe I can beat Matt Money. Yeah, thumbs up for that. So right now we'll just go ahead and undo those numbers because we're still in April. So we'll put that back to 13 and 1. And obviously if I worked till I was 55 years old on a conservative basis, I had about $3.5 million. Obviously, I mean, I think it would be a lot more than that just because I'd be continually to compound and invest more. I get better at options, make more of the options, all that's gonna compound as well. So on a conservative basis, $3.5 million at 55, but I'm not working until 55. We got the net worth-o-meter here, which is basically 1.734. That's what the net worth currently stands at. That's $50,000 more than last month. I cannot believe it. It's been a month, and they basically went up by $50,000. But I didn't. You can see by scrolling up here, I probably didn't put more than $16,000 in the account. So all the rest was options income, and even options income even counted in that $16,000. But maybe I did a little bit more than what I predicted. But at the same time, we also had the market recover as well. So in 1 month, the portfolio went up $50,000, which is mind-blowing because I just don't see how it's possible. I mean, maybe the NQ recovered 10% or something like that, but still, I mean, that would have been at least $35,000 we had to make in market returns, including out of the 401k, but I'm not complaining. Hopefully the market still continues to go up and give us more. And I can meet my goal even faster. I won't retire any earlier, but that's fine. If I get to the 2 million, it doesn't mean I'm gonna call it quits then. I'm pretty much locked in to April of 2022. I wanna get my bonus, and I also wanna make sure I know what my taxes are gonna be next year. That brings us down here to the long-term post-fire. This is kind of just a projection of what I want the accounts to look like. Obviously, there's no M1 account in here. There's no TD Ameritrade account in here. And maybe I'll add the M1 in here. I don't really know yet, but right now I want the company retirement account to be about $400,000, generating about 4.88%. That should be about $19,000 of income. The solo 401k notes, that should be about $122,000 unless one gets paid back early. That'll generate about $9,000 of income. And then the HSA roughly should be about $15,000 by the time I retire. So that should be next year, roughly about $15,000, just because you can max it out every year about what, 35, 50 or so. And that's, obviously it's invested as well. So it could go up, but I don't really know. It's in the SP 500, I think, is where it's all at. And then down here, these is all the taxable side. So the Interactive Brokers account, I'll probably end up, once I fire, drawing that account down $200,000, $205,000. And I want to generate, right now I just have it set at 1%, which is super easy to do. That's kind of passive, so I kind of just wanted to set it passive, but I could go up to 1.5 and 2% because like I said, in my, basically our weekly stream on the weekends, on Sunday, I talk about getting 2%, and it's pretty darn easy to do, but it's not passive to get that 2%. So that's the reason I have it down at 12%, because I feel that's more passive and they're pretty easy to make. But if I want to not be passive 1 month, then I can generate 2% that month. And then it brings us down here to Schwab dividends, and right now projection is about $680,000 in there, and generated about $33,000 of income at a 4.86% return. And these returns right here, or yields I should say, are actual yields of what they really are right now. So I kind of just use that as a benchmark, or kind of like a starting point. So that obviously needs to be taxed as well. And then Fundrise, I think that account will be about $16,500, roughly generates about $1,250 a year. And I think the 7.58 is actually pretty low. I think it's generating over 8 to 8.5%. And then the high yield savings account, I'll just have like maybe a couple of months of spending money in there. So about 3 to 4 months, I'll probably just build up to maybe $10,000 to $15,000. Obviously, I don't want to keep a lot of money in there because it doesn't really, generate anything other than 0.44% yield. So it's just kind of a holding bucket. I wouldn't call it an emergency fund, but I need to have something to, if I need to spend something that month, in addition to what I would normally draw off the portfolio, then I have the money there. Or if something happened to the dividend account where I couldn't get the money out fast enough or something like that, then I have another account I can draw off of. Primary house here, this is kind of up in the air, but $450,000. I don't have any plans of buying a house anytime soon, so that most likely what's going to end up happening, that's kind of just an earmark. And I talked about it last month as well. It's kind of an earmark. What's going to end up happening probably is I'll probably put that money into the Interactive Brokers options account so I can generate another 1% off that money until I get ready to buy a house. And then what I'll most likely do is put down half the amount or something like that, and whatever they require me to put down, it could be 20%, but I'm not gonna have a job, so I don't know how they're gonna qualify me or anything like that. So if I have to pay cash for the house, I'll pay cash for the house. But meanwhile, while I'm don't own a house and I'm overseas traveling or whatever, that's going to be in the options account where I can generate another 1% easily off that money and build my net worth even further. But right now that is just kind of like a holding, kind of just an earmark there, because roughly about $450,000, maybe $500,000, because I want to shop and I want about 40 acres, 20 to 40 acres, something like that as well. And I think that give me a nice house in certain states that have no taxes, and the acreage that I want with the shop and all that, I think I can get that for roughly about $450,000 to $500,000. If not, maybe my net worth will be more by then. I could increase up to 6 if I want, but we'll see. And then roughly at the end of April 2022, my taxable side should be about $1.362 million. Income is roughly about $58,000, almost $59,000. Yield about 4.32%. I'm shooting for a 3.5% withdrawal rate as well. Taxable side should be about $537,000. Income on that side about $29,000. Obviously, I need to worry about required minimum distributions, which I think it started at 72. I think last month I had it wrong, but I think it's 72 years old, so I need to think about how to deal with those as well. Obviously, I'm probably never even going to need to touch that money, and I also think that by the end of April 2022, I'll be higher than $550,000. But right now, the projections show about 537 if the market stayed right where it is right now. So that sums up the fire update and net worth update for the month of April. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave a comment below. Hit me up on Facegram, Twitter, shoot me an email if you like as well. Until next time, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.